on to chapter 7, Sutta Discovery, volume 39, OST 39.7. Sangsapaniya Pariyaya Sutta. The discourse on the figure of crawling. A revised translation of it. Because the word pariyaya has got many meanings. I'll be writing an essay on just the word pariyaya in a few months' time. Pariyaya can mean exposition, teaching. It can also mean figure, something like figurative speech, using parables and so on. So Sangsapaniya here, in other words, is a figure. The Buddha is using colorful language, figurative language, to talk about karma. This whole volume is about karma. Karma, as you know, is a very complex topic. There are many aspects we need to know. So today the Buddha is talking about the nature of karma, that we become our karma, we are our karma. So it's a very important sutta in that sense. Of course, the word karma is an English word, because if you look at any good English dictionary, big dictionaries, you find the word karma. Then again, that is the dictionary definition, right? So dictionaries are not always right. They reflect a certain usage by a certain group of people, even in a certain time. So, of course, most of the common words we use would be based on a dictionary definition. But words like karma, of course, we need to define it very carefully, depending on the early Buddhist scriptures. I'm always very careful, you notice, to say early Buddhist scriptures, not just Buddhist scriptures, because Buddhism has grown into so many new religions, so that it is meaningful to talk about various kinds of Buddhisms with the S, they're countable. Okay? In other words, when you ask a question about karma, it depends whom you ask, which tradition this person follows. Again, in Buddhism, it is such a free market situation, anyone can call himself a Buddhist. For example, you can ask a college professor who says he's not a Buddhist, but he will tell you what karma is. Or you could ask a Hindu who also believes in karma. Or you might ask another person who's not religious, who might be a humanist, but you might say he also believes in karma. So you have different definitions. Of course, as a practicing Buddhist, if you are practicing early Buddhism, you want to know what the Buddha teaches as karma. What the suttas say is karma. The reason is simple. Our purpose is not to know as much as we can about karma, to write an encyclopedia of karma. That's possible, and I think sooner or later somebody will do that. Whatever can sell, people will do. So many kinds of encyclopedias here. If you do a search on the internet now, it's an amazing number of encyclopedias. If you have the capacity to download everything, you will never be able to read them in a few lifetimes. You won't need them anyway. Some parts of the encyclopedia, of course, are very useful. This is the level of human development we have reached, the ability to collect information. Within this lifetime itself, you might notice there is this quantum leap. Right? When I was young, we had even a book like this is impossible to get, but now we have overload of information. So now, in other words, we have to be very careful about choosing the right teachings, the right teachers even, the right kind of Buddhism even, if you like. So we need to test it. That is why the Buddha gave us lots of fail-safe methods in the sutta on how to test whether this teaching is correct, useful, and lead to the goal. Lead to the goal is very important. The goal is called atta. Atta in Sanskrit. The word atta also means benefit, goal. Right? Of course, the goal here will be the path, the path begins with stream winning, ends with nirvana. So remember, our purpose in studying Buddhism is not to know the suttas, it's not to know more and more Pali words, or even know more Dharma. All those things are incidental, they are tools. It's just like we are carpenters, we need tools. But we don't go on buying tools, or we go to tool distribution and collect tools. Of course, some of us might do that, we collect lots of stuff, but you find you don't really need all of them. Right, of course, we all love suttas, so we collect all kinds of suttas, and we keep them at home. For myself, for example, I need to keep in touch with any mention of the word sutta. I have to turn my head there, direct my attention there to find out what this person is talking about, so that I know what's going on, because sooner or later, people like yourself are going to ask me questions. So I need to know those things. So in a sense, it depends whether you're a teacher or not. If you're a teacher, of course, it is incumbent upon you, upon us, to make sure we know what's going on. I mean, if you meet a teacher who says, oh no, I never read the writing of this person because it's not famous, so I don't know what he writes about Buddhism. And you find this teacher is very biased, so it won't be very helpful, right? So in other words, you have to be, as a teacher, you have to really know what's going on. Yet at the same time, you must be courageous to take a stand. There's nothing wrong in saying, I accept this, but I don't think this is right. I have even young, intelligent people today who are Buddhists who tell me, I don't think I can accept the concept of karma as reward and punishment, I mean, it just doesn't sound right. I said, yeah, that's a good thinking mind. In fact, many of them, in their right minds, if they're not influenced by the wrong teachers and wrong teachings, you'll find somehow they will know naturally what's good, what's bad. Okay? I mean, that's how Buddhism began, Whatever is bad is something that hurts us, that hurts other people, that makes us unhappy, causes suffering. So naturally, you don't need religion to tell us that. So in other words, a good religion like early Buddhism would make these things even more clear for us. So to say karma is reward and punishment is a behaviorist kind of attitude, if you use a modern term. In other words, if you do good, you get rewarded. If you do bad, you get punished. But it's not as simple as that. Because you don't see this happening, I mean, you see bad people are the ones who enjoy themselves. People who do bad are the ones who succeed to become rich and powerful. I watched one of those talk shows on the internet, about this Bryan Singer teenage molestation case. So there is people on the show, they're saying that, wow, this young man is taking this very powerful big wig in Hollywood to task. He will never succeed because he's a very powerful guy who controls the media and so on. On the other hand, we must respect this young man who is really brave in taking this stand. Because he spoke up, something will happen to this child molester and so on. So in other words, this courage to say no is a very important aspect of Buddhism. In fact, we can say to be a Buddhist, the first thing you must learn is to say no. To say no to certain things, especially what the 5 precepts tell us not to do. Again, say no to killing, no to stealing, no to sexual misconduct, no to lying, no to getting the mind crowded up and being drunk. So keeping precepts, in a sense, is the practicing of no. Okay? No to wrong views. Right? No to guru worship. No to superstition. And so on. Okay? Then the second training again begins with a bit of no, right? The mental hindrances. Right? No to sensual desire, no to ill will, and so on. And then you say yes. Right? So yes is when the mind becomes calm and peaceful. You say yes, this is it. Build up a peaceful mind. And then finally, when the mind is so peaceful and joyful, we don't say no or yes. Because when you say no and yes, you combine, you get noise. So you just silence. So There's one reflection which I wrote, to say no, say yes, be silent. So this is another way of looking at the three trainings. Right? So not all gurus are right. There are many, many gurus today, from the very famous to the most cunning. So in one of the suttas, in volume 40, the last sutta, in fact, in that volume, Ahita Tera Sutta, the Buddha says, even famous teachers have wrong views. So you must give this space, this window to any speaker. Even sometimes I may say something wrongly, or you might perceive me as saying something wrongly. Of course, we are permitted to say something wrong in a sense, unintentionally, but then the moment we know it, we will try to correct it. In the life of every Dharma teacher, you can say they have spoken wrong things. They may not know it intentionally, but then as they progress, as they meditate, as they mature, they look back and say, oh yeah, I've changed my opinion about this. I realize, okay, this is a better way of looking at something. Right? If you have the chance to talk closely with certain of these monks or meditators who are also learned in the suttas, Pali and so on, they will tell you. For example, there are certain monks who are helping other translators with translating some of the suttas. They will tell me, it's very interesting to discuss with them. They say, oh, I suggested this translation, this word should be translated like this, but the translator disagreed, and so on. So you start listening, so, wow, this is very interesting. So you're getting teachings which are not in the book. In a sense, this is the benefit of a class like this, because there are some teachings, yes, you can listen on a recording like this, but it's nothing like listening to a living teacher with whom you can interact, and someone who is approachable, who can answer your questions. That's really wonderful. So in many ways, when I was younger, I had that wonderful privilege. I met a lot of teachers who could answer many questions. But nowadays, it's a bit more difficult, okay? Because, I don't know, maybe as we grow older, people feel that we know more, so we should not be asking people who are younger, maybe. But I think you can always ask Dharma questions to anyone, okay? So remember, when we study Buddhism, we got to ask ourselves, is this right? Is this good? Not everything a monk says, not everything a nun says, not everything a teacher says, not everything I say could be right. So you have to test it yourself, you have to practice it. How do you know it works for you? Number one, you find you can calm yourself, you feel peaceful about it. It helps you in your meditation. That's the simple rule of thumb. The teaching helps you to gain mental peace. So when we study a sutta like this today, we also look for that kind of benefit. Does this sutta make me understand myself? Does this sutta make me understand other people? How does this sutta help me to understand my own mind so that I can be at peace with myself? That's another word for meditation. Having said that, let's look at the sutta. Page 122. Page 122, you can see at the top there the title, Sansappanniya Pariyaya Sutta. Now, sutta means, the last of sutta means, of course, thread, teaching. Thread means, you thread something, so there's a continuity going back to the Buddha's time. Right? Here again is something very interesting. Let me just briefly say this, because although it's a short sutta, there are lots of materials here. There was this very big discussion among scholars for many decades ago over the translation of Ewang Me Sutang and then the phrase that follows it. Ewang Me Sutang, as you know, is the opening phrase in most of the early suttas. Translated as, thus have I heard, right? So if you look at this sutta, you probably, this sutta doesn't have it, right? But this is Anguttara. Many of them don't have it, but in the longer suttas, Ewang Me Sutang, thus have I heard. We know this, usually to us, it means it's Ananda, listening to the Buddha and then remembering the teachings. But many of the scholars feel that Ewan Mesutang should be combined with the following phrase, Ekang Samayang. So you translate as Ewan, you should read it as Ewan Mesutang Ekang Samayang. Thus have I heard at one time. Okay? And the scholars have written so many papers on this for many decades. And I've counted, there are more than a dozen of such scholars, maybe 15, 16, even more. If you include not so famous one, probably much, much more. And they all seem to agree with this interpretation that you should translate the opening as, thus have I heard at one time. All these years I've seen this, but I told myself, no, this can't be right. Something in me just cannot accept this explanation. Number one, they're all scholars, because scholars are not really interested in Buddhism. And they're professional scholars, but they're just teaching because they need to support themselves. Not many of them, especially the early scholars, they're not Buddhists. So they're not really sympathetic to Buddhism. They're just interested in the language, the philology, and so on. So I never really accepted the explanation. Then later on, like this period, you have monk scholars, Buddhist scholars who study all this and they're more certain what's the meaning. So in fact, we find nowadays, we are more sure actually that the translation we have been following is correct. Ewan Mesutang, that's if I heard, and then after that you translate, at one time, something happened. Okay? So you can read the details on this in the introduction to the Brahmajala Sutta. That's the very first sutta in the Digha Nikaya. So here again, like I said, you have all these great scholars, great minds, very good in Sanskrit language, Pali, Sanskrit, Tibetan, and so on and so forth. But they are not all, although all of them seem to agree with this translation, they are all wrong. This is a very interesting point. Well, in a sense, they are right because they're only looking at certain aspects of the sutta. See? But if you apply it to early Buddhism, it doesn't work. They also look at later Buddhism, Sanskrit Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, and so on. So they're trying to give a common denominator. They're trying to give a common answer to all of it. But in doing so, they do an injustice to early Buddhism because the answer doesn't apply to early Buddhism. In early Buddhism, we still say, Ewan Mesutang means thus have I heard, Ananda is talking there, and then at one time, something happened. Alright? So then again, in Buddhism, we always tell ourselves, choose carefully. It's like going shopping. Don't buy the first thing you see. Right? Salesman come and tell you, oh, this is very good. In fact, my mind is such that when salesmen come to me, I always say, oh, dear, better be careful. If this person has to make a big sale of this, obviously something's not good about this. Right? So, as the more people talk about it, doesn't mean necessarily be right. You've got to test it for yourself. Right? So the suttas, you can directly approach yourself, personally practice. Buddhism is a very personal thing. Personal practice. Remember the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree is always alone. You don't see two Buddhas there, it's only one. So when we practice Buddhism, we sit quietly by ourselves because we have to deal with our problems. No one else can really help us. Where they can try to give advice, yes. They point the way, yes. Even the Buddha says, I point out the way to you, but you yourself must walk the path in the Dhammapada. And that's very correct. Like someone is sick, this is a doctor, the doctor gives the medicine, and the patient must take the medicine himself or herself. So that is the sutta, the spirit of the sutta. Now, pariyaya here means different way of talking. Figurative way of talking, using images, using parables, proverbs, and so on. All right? A very interesting way of talking. Sansapaniya. Okay, in the middle of the word you see there is the word sappa. Sappa, very similar to the meaning of serpent, snake. Sansapaniya, that which crawls. Okay? So we translate this title as the discourse on the figure of crawling. Exposition on crawling also can. Sounds a bit technical. Karma makes us crawl. We sometimes say you see young students crawling to school. And then when they graduate, you see them crawling to work. And when you see old people, they are really crawling. So it's something like that. You see the Buddha using the word crawl in the figurative sense. And the Buddha is very good in this kind of language, to give us an idea of the nature of karma. Yes?
What's the significance of crawling?
This is yeah, we're going to study this today. Yeah. Our whole study is based on this one. So I'll take the rest of the class explaining this one in a sense.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's because you're curious. You kind of say, hey, tell me quickly, okay. All right. Now, look at page 124. This is the main idea of this sutta. If you forget everything, just remember this. This is page 124, meaning analysis. This is the main teaching, right? The essence of it. I'll read the Pali words first. Itiko bhikkhave bhuta bhuttassa upapati hoti yang karoti tena upapajjati upapannang tenang passa pusanti. Such indeed it is, bhikshus. Bhikshus are the monks. The being's birth is due to the being. I'll come back to this. So as he acts, so he is reborn. When reborn, sense contacts touch. Okay, this alone you can spend a whole lesson or a few lessons talking about this. Such it is indeed, bhikshus. This is the way things are. A being's rebirth, right? Any being, not just human, any living being that is reborn is because of their being. And this is a problem of language, Pali is clearer. Bhuta, bhuttassa. Bhuta means being, in the sense of existence. Bhuta also means beings like you and I. So you see that there is the person, there is the existence. Two meanings. So in simple terms, what we are now, in many ways, is the result of what we were in the past. Okay? So what we are now is in many ways the result of what we were in the past. For example, we are human beings. We are reborn as human beings because in the past we behaved like human beings. So when we die, we are reborn in a human state again. But then there's something else. Not karma. Karma is not alone. Karma does not operate alone. You can say karma is past conditioning. There is also present conditioning. Notice the next line, third line says, as he acts, so he is reborn. As he acts, this is present tense. Whatever we do now will again condition us. So there are two conditionings here. Always remember, two conditionings. Past conditioning, present conditioning. Two things. If only past conditioning, we're in serious trouble. That means we can't do anything about it. Right? No point doing anything about it. Everything is already decided in the past. So why bother? That's called predestination, right? So karma is only one of the worldly conditions. There are a number of others. Present condition is very important. In other words, someone may be born ignorant, poor, ugly, and so on. Okay, we can say that's bad karma. Normally we don't talk it in that way because it's not helpful. We say, although these are difficulties you face, handicaps you face, you can still work hard, struggle. And you find that many of the great minds, they are like that. Look at Stephen Hawking, for example. He's got a crumpled body. Many of us here are much more healthy than the way he looks. But his mind is amazing. Greatest mind, scientific mind in this present time. Some of the great minds, you find, they're not born lucky, they're not born fortunate, they worked hard for it. So past condition, past karma, present conditioning. Two aspects, always remember that, right? When reborn, sense contacts touching. So the way we are conditioned by our senses. Sense contacts means our sense experiences. What we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and number 6 is think, the mind. 5 senses plus mind. when these are stimulated by external stimulus or stimuli, we call that sense contacts. Right? This is the Pali technical term, sense contact, that is the working of our six senses, 5 physical senses plus the mind. And that's how we create our karma. How we see things, how we hear things, how we smell things, and so on. So this sutta is an elaboration on this statement. Any question to ask about this verse? Anything you're not sure about? All right, let's go straight into the sutta. Page 126. As before, my advice if you are new to a sutta, kind of just have a quick glance at it beginning to end to have a general view of it so that you're familiar with the structure. Page 126, you can see the number 1, that's the introduction. Here I put in all the subtitles for you. Next section is called the ownership of karma. And so on, all these are added in for you, so there's easy reading for me also. That's why I want to do this translation, so that we can label everything nicely. So for example, you have other very good translations published all in single volume by Bhikkhu Bodhi and many other people. You find that because of constraint of space, they have to put everything in one volume. For example, the Samyutta Nikaya originally was 2 volumes, and now they combine everything into 1 volume. So I don't know how they did it. They really squashed it into 1 volume. They used thinner paper, but the 2 volumes easier to read. Paper is thicker also. But the problem is, many of the suttas have to be shortened. Put 3 dots. And the problem when you read it, you don't know what's missing. So this is one of the complaints by one of the really serious scholar in UK. He says these translations are very good. Definitely worth reading, but there is a serious flaw. The serious flaw is they shorten the suttas. Because this was not the intention of the suttas, I mean, if the Buddha wanted everything to be shortened, he would have done so. But the Buddha would be teaching, okay, here's karma, etc. Nobody will say, what are you talking about? Nobody will understand, you see. So there is a good reason why there are repetition in the suttas. It is so that we can remember. It's meant to be a reflection. Learning sutta is not about accumulating knowledge. Learning sutta is about changing ourselves. It's about transforming ourselves to become a better person, more peaceful person. It's not to compare notes. I've heard 100,000 suttas. I mean, you hear one sutta, you get enlightened, that's good enough. So learning a sutta is to change, to become a better person. So we need to listen to the complete sutta. So here, we try our best to give the complete translation, even the repetition. You find here, you have first part, there are what are called the unwholesome karmic cause. Can you see the big words across the page? There are 10 bad karma. Okay? And then the next part you find page 132. Again, the big subtitle, center of the page. The wholesome karmic cause. Can you see that? So first, the sutta is divided into 2 parts. First part is unwholesome karmic cause. Second part is wholesome karmic cause. First part is good karma. First part is bad karma. Second part is good karma. Okay? Then, what are the unwholesome karmic cause? There are 10 of them. Look at number 1, one who destroys life. Number 2, one who steals. Familiar, right? Number 3, one who commits sexual misconduct. Okay, these 3 are actions of the body. Actions of the body. And then number 4, one who lies. Number 5, next page, page 129, one who slanders. And then number 6, further down, one who speaks harsh words. Number 7, one who chatters frivolously. Use the stop. These 4 are the 4 wrong speeches. Okay? So notice again, first three bad karma, action of body. Middle 4, action of speech. And then the last three, 8, 9, 10, page 130. Number 8, one who's covetous. Covetous is desiring what other people have. Okay. And then number 9, one who harbors ill will. Notice covetousness is desire. That's number 8. Number 9, ill will is opposite. Ill will is hatred. Okay. Number 8 is desiring. Number 9 is hating. So they're kind of opposites. And the last one, number 10, one who has wrong views. Right. So 8, 9, 10 deals with the mind. 3 actions of the mind. So altogether you get 10. 3, 4, 3. Altogether 10. And then you have the last section is everything is listed again, but just opposite. Positive karma. Let's have a quick look. Wholesome karmic cause. 132. Page 132 again is notice number 1, one who refrains from killing. Refrain means saying no to killing. Remember, all these are training rules. That means we are not perfect. We try our best. We try our best. We create the conditions to cut down killing until no more killing. Number 2, one who refrains from stealing. Number 3, one who refrains from sexual misconduct. So just opposite of the 3 verse 3. And then 4, 5, 6, 7, again same. One who refrains from lying. Next page, 1, 3, 4. One who refrains from slander. 6, one who refrains from harsh speech. 7, one who refrains from frivolous talk. And then the last 3, one who does not covet. Number 9, one who harbors no ill will. And number 10 is put in a positive way, one who holds right view. Right? Number 10 is slightly differently worded. One who holds right view. So this is another way of practicing Buddhism. The first stage is to clear away wrong views. Clear away wrong views. Right? When we keep the precepts, we must also practice loving kindness so that when you're happy, when you're kind, it's easier to practice the precepts. And when you're happy and you're kind, you also find that you're more open and you don't need to do rituals and you don't need to be superstitious. You have no fear, because superstition arises from fear. So we learn to say no to wrong views. In other words, you have less and less views. Second stage, we try to cultivate right views. In a sense, you might say now we're kind of in the second stage now. We try to get rid of wrong views, cultivate right views, right? But wrong views, right views are still views. View means one way of looking at something. You look at one side of the mountain, well, there's one kind of vista, kind of panorama you get. But what about the other sides of the mountain, right? So we must have a complete understanding. That's the highest level of wisdom. Wisdom is a level when you have no views. Let's say before you go to some city, like maybe Sydney or London or some nice place, you have all kinds of views. You think of this, you think of that, depending on what picture you look at, what news you hear. But when you are there, it's a different thing. You just do what needs to be done. Okay? So same thing about nirvana. If you're not in nirvana, you can talk a lot about things, write books about it, but still you're not in nirvana. But once you're in nirvana, you're happy. No more views. Okay, let's go straight into Sutta now. Page 126. Bhikshus, I will show you a Dharma exposition on the crawling, so to speak. Okay? So here, so to speak, is a translation of pariyaya. So here, pariyaya is translated twice. As exposition, also, so to speak, in a figurative way. As using ideas, using what you call other concepts. Concept is crawling. Listen, bhikshus, pay close attention, I will speak. So this is telling the bhikkhus to get ready. Yes, Big Bhante, the monks replied to the Blessed One in essence. The Blessed One said this. The moment you see the word the Blessed One said this, means the teaching is going to start. And what bhikshus is the Dharma's position on the crawling, so to speak, or the Dharma's position on the figure of crawling. Okay, then the Buddha explains. Bhikshus, beings are the owners of their karma, of their deeds. The heirs to karma, the wombs of karma, the relatives of karma. Karma is their refuge. Whatever karma they do, good or bad, they will be its heir. And the Buddha is talking here. Now, so we got to change the person of this verse. That there is some places where the sutta puts in the first person. So, for us, we should read it like this. We are the owner of I am the owner of my karma, the heir to karma, the womb of karma, the relative of karma. Karma is my refuge. Whatever karma I do, good or bad, I will be its heir. Now, that's something for you to reflect, okay? There's nothing we own except our karma. When we move on into the new life, future life, what we bring along is our karma. So this is where never underestimate the good that you do in this life, even a small kindness. It will follow you to the next life. Okay? Don't think about the bad ones, just think of the happy ones. It will continue to the next life. Like translating the sutta, I can't finish in this life, a lot of work. But I told myself, try to finish it next life. But don't talk too often like that, because you become lazy by the way. Because some people will say, I need to finish this life, do next life. Yeah, so many more lives. How do you know if you're reborn as a human being in the next life? Right? So don't take it for granted.
You may not be reborn.
Yeah, well, yeah, you might, if you like it, that's great. Anyway, the point is again, depends how you say, okay? As long as it motivates you to work, it gives you an understanding, the joy of the Dharma, that's fine. As to karma, so in other words, whatever, the only thing we can really get is our karma. So sometimes you may get good things, sometimes bad things, well, that's your karma. You know? Or you may even have all the wonderful things, but you still are not happy, right? So it's karma, in that sense. Wombs of karma, in other words, especially our mind, that's where karma is born. The karma is born in our minds, you know, our speech, our action. Body, speech, and mind. This is where karma is born, through our bodily action. Remember the first 3 precepts? Our speech, middle 4 precepts, and then the mind, the last 3 precepts. Relative of karma, we are somehow connected to each other by our karma. The fact that you all are gathered here for sutta study. A lot of people say sutta so boring, so difficult, all kind of excuses, but here you are sitting listening to it. In the past life you've done it also, perhaps, you know, right? Or maybe present conditions, somehow you end up here. So you're creating new good karma, right? So we are related in that way, related to the Dharma, to the suttas. Isn't that a wonderful way of connecting together? We can also connect together by scolding each other in a bus. Or anywhere you quarrel with people, you also connect with each other. Then you meet again in the future life, you're scolding each other again. So you go on and on and on, no end. You know? Terrible, isn't it? That's why Buddha said, no, don't use hatred. It's a terrible, painful way of connecting to people. Okay? Karma is our refuge. Notice sometimes in the worst situation, recent ferry accident, tragedy in Korea, you find some people survive. Some people don't. And I heard that at least one person who survived was so guilt-ridden, he killed himself also. So all this is the working of karma. Some people survive, some people don't. We have to explain. Right? So, if you've done something good, people try to get you into trouble, your karma somehow will protect you. Whatever karma they do, good or bad, it will be their end. They will be the heir of karma. Okay? So, and this is what we really inherit. Okay, this is the the thesis, the main idea, then the Buddha explains in two parts by way of the 10 bad karma and 10 good karma. Now let's look through this first part, the unwholesome karmic cause. Here, bhikshus, someone kills living beings, cruel, bloody-handed, given to violence and killing, merciless to all living beings. But here you see a very clear definition. You don't often get this. So remember this passage. You want to know definition of killing? Here you go. Remember the number A10.205. Yeah? And then after that you see the word refrain. This word I added in so that you know it repeats itself for every one of the 10 precepts. He crawls with his body, he crawls with his speech, he crawls with his mind. His bodily action is crooked, his verbal action is crooked, his mental action is crooked. His destiny is crooked, his rebirth is crooked. So here the Buddha places the word crooked, jimha. Okay, all these words are explained in the introduction. So you have the word crawling, which is an animal action. Then you have the word crooked, which is also an animal behavior, right? So here the Buddha is using the word crooked in a figurative sense, in a moral sense, right? In a dharma sense. So if someone behaves crooked in this life, we say, oh, that guy is crooked, we talk like that, right? We don't mean that he's bad, we mean that his mind is crooked. Right, here you are. The Buddha exactly using this in that way, okay? A person with a crooked mind. So he'll be reborn also crooked, okay? Someone may be upright, look straight and handsome, but crooked in that sense, okay? 3.4. Furthermore, bhikshus, for those whose destiny is crooked, I say, there is either of two destinies, that is utter suffering in hell, or in an animal womb, as one that crawls. And what bhikshu is the animal womb as one that crawls? Snakes, scorpions, centipedes, mongooses, cats, rats, owls, or whatever beings born of the animal womb that crawls away on seeing humans. Okay, this the Buddha defines nature of animal. The hell state is not mentioned here, but there's another sutta called the Bala Pandita Sutta. You can see 34, right? Anyways, Bala Pandita Sutta. You can look up the sutta in great detail. Now, let me just make a quick note about the hell states. Now, I don't know whether hell states are really places we go to or not, but my impression or understanding Buddhism is that they are not real places like this place, because if it is a real place like this, there are many problems of trying to explain it. From the Buddha's teaching, we would say that it's more a mental state. People who do a lot of evil things, the pain that comes to them is terrible. That even the minor thing, wow, they're really suffering. So we would say that is hell for that kind of person. And there are some places, even in our world today, you find there's so much violence, right? Hell is normally characterized by habitual, continuous violence. So you might find a person is born in violence, bombing and killing, and they die very young in the bombing and killing. So that is hell. So hell is not a place, it is a human state, a social condition, all right, of suffering. That means you can also get out of it. It's not a place you are sent to, right? You hear stories of this. I mean, in Singapore, you don't get sent to hell. In Singapore, we go to hell. It's called Haw Par Villa. You go and visit and look at all those, right? Now, those are stories. I wouldn't introduce my children to such things. They're just stories. Frankly, I don't think they're very helpful because a lot of fear is created. Right? On the other hand, I suppose those stories are invented because the people were very difficult to govern. So the authorities found this kind of stories are very good, frightening people. But I think the actual Buddhist teaching is to use loving kindness, compassion. Right? So always remind your students or children that it is better to love than to hate, basically. Right? So So you find in Buddhism, there's a minimum of talking about going to hell and so on. Here the Buddha says this person who does evil deeds will be reborn either in a hell state or animal state because of the person's behavior. Someone who breaks the precept obviously does violence also, so he'll be reborn in a violent state. Or this person also is ignorant, so he'll be reborn among the animals, because animals are characterized by ignorance. How does this happen? Let me give a simple example once again. Let's say someone habitually robs, kills, rapes somebody. So this person gets up late, goes out in the dark at night, look for victims. So all his life he does that. So you can imagine his mentality, darkness, violence. So his body is human, but his mind is that of a fierce animal, a predator. So imagine when he dies, what are the thoughts in his mind? What are the habitual thoughts that come back to our minds? In this case of this person, would be all those terrible things he has done, see? So, when the body is gone, in other words, the body cannot support the mind, this mind will, what kind of mind is it? It's an animal mind. So this animal mind will float around looking for an animal body. That's how it goes. Okay? 3.6. Such indeed it is, bhikshus. A being's rebirth is due to the being, to his past. As he acts, so he is reborn. When reborn, sense contacts touch him. So I say, bhikshus, being are heirs to karma. Okay? So you find this last part repeat itself. Right? Okay, next one who steals. Furthermore, here someone takes the not given. In a village or in a forest, he takes by way of theft the possession of others that are of service to them. Okay. In fact, the key words are just one or two lines. Right? This is in the Buddha's time. It says someone takes something in the village or in the forest. Right? In the Buddha's time, the towns are very small. So today, of course, the word village, gama, would include cities like this also. Okay? So in other words, anywhere, whenever there are things, this person just take away by theft, in other words, without permission, taking a not given, especially something which is useful to other people. Right? Useful to other people. So again, everything's repeated. You notice the italicized words, and they're all repeated. Right? So this person who steals, he crawls just like an animal. So his action is crooked, speech is crooked, mind also crooked. Someone who likes to steal will tell lies. His action also is very secretive. His mind also is crooked. Right? So you can see person's karma becomes the person. That's why I've written on the board. Karma becomes us. So when this person goes on doing this habitually, the person is reborn in a lower state, subhuman state, as an animal or suffering state. Karma should be seen as what we often do, habits, right? Some people, for example, they come to staff class, they pay very good attention. They can become wise, intelligent. Right? Others, not so attentive. Okay? So again, but we need to train ourselves in this. You know? For example, when I was teaching in the NUS, I can say anything. The students will always be looking at me, eye contact. I say, this is amazing how these students can be so attentive. You know? But some places, they're looking around all over the place. They're not paying attention. Right? So this is where, as a human being, you have the chance to become wiser or not wiser. It's up to you. So this is like a turning point, human state. Right? Otherwise, we end up subhuman. So the precept is to keep us on a human level. When you become a stream winner, you'll never break the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts to keep us on the human level. The 5 precepts then help us to clear our mind, to go into the heavenly level in meditation. Very joyful, very peaceful. Number 3, one who commits sexual misconduct.
Oh, there's a slight difference
Yes?
in your refrain.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down.
Yes.
it ends the kind that crawls, whereas in the refraining, the earlier one as one that crawls.
What's the difference?
It says here, it says the kind that crawls in the 3.4 as one that crawls.
Oh, I see. So just,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for pointing
I
out.
just want to find
Yeah, yeah.
the inconsistency.
Okay, very good, yes. Yeah, good, thank you. Okay. All right, yeah, thanks for pointing out this. We can standardize that. Number 3, one who commits sexual misconduct. Someone commits sexual misconduct, falling into such a conduct with those protected by their mother, protected by their father, protected by their parents, protected by their brother, protected by their sister, protected by a relative, protected by the clan, protected by the law. Dharma means law or tradition. Custom is okay. One with a husband, one protected by law. Okay, law is mentioned separately here. So in that case, the first one, dharma, would be custom. Yeah? Even with one adorned with a string of garlands in betrothal to one another. So here's the definition of sexual misconduct. It means here not respecting the other person, right? Here you might say, how come women are not mentioned? Women with what they call, it seems to be heavy on the men's side. Huh? Here, the definition here is in connection with the times of the Buddha, right? The spirit of the third precept is to respect the other person's person, right? Because in the Vinaya it's very clear, a monk should not have any kind of sex, whether with same sex or different sex, right? So here the Buddha is talking about lay people, okay? Because for lay people, where the 5 precepts are concerned, you can still practice what you call, you can keep to the 5 precepts, but you live as a lay person, meaning you have a home, a family, you run businesses, and you also enjoy sensual pleasures, right? So this is the last category of practitioners. The Buddha talks about arhats, non-returner, once-returner, stream winner, and then the celibate layman, and so on. And the last category is the karma bhogi, the lay practitioner who enjoys sensual pleasures. In fact, even in the case of stream winner also can enjoy sensual pleasure, but within the constraints of the 5 precepts. In other words, stream winner, for example, can get married. King Bibisara was a stream winner. So it's not that everyone must become celibate. In other words, you must become like a monk to get enlightened. Not so. Yeah? So it depends on what kind of situation you're in, what training, Buddhist training you choose. So here, in other words, third precept is not respecting the other person's person, the other person's body, violating the person's body and privacy. So a person who does this habitually crawls with his body, crawls with his speech, crawls with the mind. So in other words, it becomes crooked in terms of body, speech, and mind. And if that's the case, then this person will be reborn in a suffering state or in the animal world. You see the way animals behave, predictable, they don't have full control of their lives, and sometimes they trust humans, but humans hurt them. Very sad, isn't it? Okay, so that's the first 3 precepts of the body. Next 4 of speech. One who lies, someone who speaks falsehood. When questioned as a witness before a council, before a congregation, in the midst of relatives, in the midst of a guild or company, in other words, a meeting or gathering, in the midst of a royal court or court of law in our times, and questioned us, come now man, tell us what you know. Not knowing, he says he knows. Or knowing, he says he knows not. Having not seen, he says he saw. Or having seen, he says he did not see. Consciously lying thus for his own sake, for the sake of others, or for some small material gain, right? Or it's important to say bearing false witness, yeah? So this is speaking falsehood. So here, if this person habitually lies in this way, for some small gain, with bad intention, this person is said to be crawling through body, speech and mind. And his future rebirth will be crooked. His karma will be either suffering state or animal world. Next, number 5, one who slanders. Someone speaks divisive words. What he has heard here from others, he repeats it there to others to divide them. What he has heard there, he repeats it here to divide them. Thus he divides the united, who encourages the divided to remain so, or he rejoices in division. Being pleased at discord, enjoying discord, delighting in discord, saying words conducive to discord. So someone who likes to break up people. That's why we need to teach this to more and more people, so that married families are happy, and office people are happy, right? So we should not break up friendships. Right? Concord, opposite of discord is concord. Someone who likes to break up marriages, break up friendships, is said to be crawling in body, speech and mind. And the future rebirth, coming rebirth will be that of a crooked one, either in a suffering state or animal world. One who speaks harsh words. Someone speaks harsh words. He utters words that are rough, hard, hurting to others, offensive to others, connected with anger, inconducive to mental concentration. He utters words such as these, right? Notice a very interesting line there, inconducive to mental concentration, right? So in the positive sense, whatever we say must be conducive to mental concentration, helps you to meditate. That is why when people come for meditation, you find the teacher will talk in a very soft, gentle way, and it helps the person to meditate. That's called pleasant speech. So someone who uses harsh words is said to be crawling through body, speech and mind. The future coming rebirth will be that one. Number 7, one who chatters frivolously, someone who utters useless talk. At the wrong time he speaks what is false, what is unbeneficial, what is not the teaching, or what is not the dharma, or what's not the truth, what is not the discipline, what's not vinaya. In other words, nothing to do with the Buddha Dharma. At the wrong time, he speaks words not worth treasuring, baseless, undefined, in other words, rambling, not connected with the goal of spiritual liberation. Right? Sometimes you find, now you got the internet, if you have a friend, sometimes might send you a long email, you know what this person is writing. That's called rambling, and it's not very helpful at all. So this is where we have this opportunity to express ourselves, and I think we should try to express ourselves truthfully, and if possible, beautifully. Truth and beauty are really great gifts, the best gifts you can give to others. Very often, the more we talk is the less we know, something like that, right? And then once you know, you find you don't need all this, you're at peace with yourself. So, right time also is very important. Right time to talk the Dharma. In other words, we don't scold people with Dharma. Right? We don't fault people with the Dharma. One thing we should never use is to threaten, people or children or what, with Dharma teaching, right? For example, we never scold people say, you do this, you go to hell. You never hear Buddhists saying that, thankfully, hopefully not, right? We never even say, scold someone and say, may you be reborn as a preta, for example. We never talk like that. It's not the Buddhist way of talking, right? When we are angry, we say, well, I feel angry, that's the worst we would go, I think. We try to express the truth to others, right? As far as possible. But we're not mindful, we can forget. Then we reflect, okay, I'm not being mindful, let me correct this behavior. That's called reflection. Okay, so those are the 4 kinds of wrong speeches, and the last 3, mental karma. Number 8, page 131, number 8. One who is covetous. Someone is covetous, he covets the possessions of others that are of service to them, thinking, oh, may what belongs to others become mine, right? So we see people have a nice new car, we also want a nice new car. People have a nice big new phone, also want that. And so on and so forth. You can put in the use of imagination. In other words, here, do not be too fashionable. Do not live your life by other people's life. Don't measure yourself against others. Right? We like to compare. Right? Wow, this guy is so rich, I want to be like this person. Now, that's not the way it works. Happiness is something inside you. So, covet has a broad meaning here. Covetousness has a very broad meaning here. It is a mental way of looking, measuring, and so on. A related word would be what is called conceit, yeah? on the darker side. And then, so the result of this is that of crawling, and the rebirth is that of being crooked rebirth. Number 9, one who harbors ill will. Someone has a malevolent mind, a mind of wicked thoughts, thinking, may these beings be killed or slaughtered or wiped out or destroyed or not exist. Right? Someone's very upset, think this way. So when he thinks like this, he crawls body, speech and mind. Right? And then the last one who has wrong views. Someone holds wrong view. Or you can say wrong views. With distorted vision, thinking, there is nothing given, nothing offered, nothing sacrificed. There is no fruit or result of good or bad actions. There is no this world, there is no next world. There is no mother, no father. There are no spontaneously born beings. There are no recluses or Brahmins who, living rightly and practicing rightly, having directly known and realized for themselves this world and the hereafter, proclaim them. Okay, this is a kind of a guideline for us to understand what are the things we need to investigate, examine. What are the wrong views? Nothing given. No such thing as giving. It says, no point giving anyone anything. Generosity is useless, stupid, that kind of idea. Whatever you give others is not really helpful, that kind of idea. So that is one kind of wrong view. There is no fruit or result of good or bad actions. In other words, amoral, right? People like to say, oh, good and bad, all relative, right? Depends on how you think, right? Wrong, that's wrong. It does, yes, in a sense, how we think affects our action. But karma is very interesting. You can commit bad karma even unconsciously. The key word here, notice how we define karma in Buddhist terms. Intention, intentional. But again, someone may joke and say, I knocked down someone without intention. Or someone punched another, oh sorry, I didn't do that with intention. But what is intention? Intention is very clear here. It refers to one of the 3 unwholesome ways. Whatever action you do with greed, hate, or delusion, whether you're conscious of it or not, is karma. And it will bear fruit in time. What does this mean? Let's say a drug addict, a drug addict takes drugs. That's breaking the 5th precept. And because he's a drug addict, he steals and he also hurts other people. Now, if you have a problem of denial, psychological denial, you say, oh, this poor man, you should forgive him, it's okay, like, you hurt people because he's a drug addict. What does that mean? Does it mean to be a drug addict is okay to hurt people? The drug addict still commits karma when he hurts people, although he might not be aware of it. in fact not aware of it, is delusion, is ignorance. Karma is still there. So a father, a violent father who abuses the wife and the children, habitually, until he doesn't feel it is wrong, even the family accepts it. And there's a term in psychology for that, codependence, right? So the wife will say, oh, he has the right to beat us because he's the breadwinner, and he works so hard, so we all never work hard enough, so it's okay to beat us up. That's wrong view. It is still wrong. This violence is wrong, right? So in other words, there's no such thing as compassionate violence. You cannot kill anyone compassionately, So it's very tricky here. Remember, Buddhism puts a very high standard on all these things. Even though we cannot reach the high standard, we should try our best to go in that direction. Because the Buddha said, oh, never mind, and so on. Then it's very difficult for us, because he's Buddha, so this is what we can do. And we try our best. There is no this world, no next world. In other words, this is our only life. So we die, that's it. That's a materialist view. No more rebirth. Yeah, of course, here some intellectuals have difficulty. They say, how do I know there's a future birth? I don't know. So these intellectual Buddhists, they even say, oh, I believe in Buddhism, but I don't believe in rebirth. There are some Buddhists already. There's no father, no mother. Wow, this is quite a problematic one. I suppose a time when you have tested babies. Here, what defines a human being is our relationship with one another, especially to our parents. Right? So the idea of parent, mother, and father is to kind of keep us human. That we relate to each other in a positive, wholesome way. We do not, in other words, treat each other like animals. So like animals, they mate with each other just like that, So human beings, you have connection. Because if you don't have such a, regulated behavior, it's going to be very difficult for human beings to progress as a community. It's very confusing. You can't even divide property in a, what we call harmonious way, for example. So this is more of a kind of worldly harmony, if you like, right? So the idea of there is father, there is mother is the basis of a family life. There is no spontaneous born beings. Okay, this one is a technical term, quite tricky for some people. Spontaneous born being here can refer to devas, or they can refer to non-returners, for example. But I think here is taken in a general non-technical sense, because in the early suttas you find many terms are used non-technically. In other words, you see the context. Here it means the person does not believe in rebirth. The person will say, no such thing, I've never seen it. Right? So this is wrong view. And the last one, there are no recluses or Brahmins. In other words, there are no religious people. No point being religious, no point practicing any religious teaching, it won't help in any way. This is a kind of summary statement saying that all religion is useless. Of course, you have to define what religion is. If you define religion as superstition, yeah, of course, it's useless, it's dangerous. But here, the person is saying there's no way of spirituality. There's no such thing as meditation, right? Forget about all the spirituality of the world, that kind of idea. That is wrong view. What the Buddha is saying here is that it is possible for anyone in any religion, anywhere in the world, to be a good person, to be at peace with themselves. It is possible. Being good is possible. And because that is possible, the Buddha said, that is why I'm teaching. Right? So these are the right view version of this. Okay? So then we complete the unwholesome cycle. Now let's have a quick look at the wholesome karmic causes time targets. Look at 132. So here, one who refrains from killing. So this you practice in a wholesome way. Refraining from killing. 5.1. Here, Bhikshu, someone having given up killing living beings, refrains from harming living beings. lays down the rod and sword, conscientious, merciful, dwells beneficial and compassionate to all living beings. So you see here there is the negative aspect, there's also the positive aspect. There is the not doing aspect, there is the doing aspect. Another way of putting it is, we recite the precept, we say, having stopped killing, I will practice compassion. Like that. So you got the negative precept, positive virtue. He does not crawl. He does not crawl in body, speech, or mind. Notice 5.3. His bodily action is straight. His verbal action is straight. His mental action is straight. His destiny is straight. His rebirth is straight. Furthermore, bhikshus, for one whose destiny is straight, I say there is either of two destinies. That is utter bliss in the heavens, or in high kshatriya families of great halls, Brahmin families of the great halls, house lord families of the great halls of great wealth, with great treasures abundant in gold, silver and money, wealthy with great treasures, great in goods and means, abundant in riches and grains. So here in verse 1, who does good will be born either in the heavens, heavenly life, or in this world they are born in a blessed kind of life. Okay? Great hall simply means wealthy in this case. Then next one, someone who refrains from stealing. Page 132, at the bottom. Here again, we show someone having given up taking the not given, refrains from taking the not given. In a village or in a forest, he does not take by way of theft others' possessions that are of service to them. So here again, this person is straight in the road, he does not crawl through body, speech, or mind. Number 3, one who refrains from sexual misconduct. Here again, it shows someone having given up sexual misconduct, refrains from sexual misconduct, not falling into such conduct with those protected by their mother, protected by their father, protected by their parents, protected by their brother, protected by their sister, protected by relatives, protected by the clan, protected by dharma or custom, protected one with a husband, a protected woman, not even with one adorned with a string of garlands, or one who's betrothed to another. So this person never respect the other person. So his body, speech and mind do not crawl, and his mind, body, speech are straight. In his rebirth is a happy one, either here in this world or in the heavenly world. Number 4, one who refrains from lying. Here again, it shows someone having given up speaking falsehood, refrains from speaking falsehood. When questioned in a court, when questioned as a witness before a council, before a congregation, in the midst of relatives, in the midst of a guild or company, in the midst of a royal court or court of law, when it's questioned, he tells the truth. Right? Seen it, he says he's seen it, he says he does not, he saw. He does not consciously tell a lie for the sake of others or even for a small gain. So this person is straight in every way, his rebirth also is straight and happy. So those are 3 actions of the body. Next, 3 actions of speech. Page 134. Here again, bhikshus, someone having given up divisive speech refrains from divisive speech. So he does not break up relationships and connections, right? So this person creates good karma. He does not crawl. His karma is straight. Number 6, one who refrains from harsh speech. Here again, bhikshus, someone having given up harsh speech refrains from harsh speech. He utters words that are blameless, pleasant to the ear, touching the ear, touching the heart rather, obeying, loved by the masses, pleasant to the masses. Pleasant speech, right? So this person is creating good karma, does not crawl, body, speech or mind. His karma is straight, rebirth also is straight. Number 7, he refrains from frivolous talk. Here again, bhikshus, someone having given up frivolous talk refrains from frivolous talk. He speaks at the right time, what is true, what is beneficial, what is the teaching and what is the discipline. At the right time, he speaks words worth treasuring, well-founded, well-defined, in other words, not rambling, connected with the goal of spiritual liberation. Okay? See the phrase, words worth treasuring. It's a very beautiful phrase to remember. So this person, he does not crawl. His mind is straight, his actions are all straight. Number 8 and 9, these are 8, 9, 10 is a karma of the mind. Here bhikshu, someone is not covetous. He covets not the possession of others that are of service to them, thinking, oh, may what belongs to others become mine, right? So this person does not crawl to his karma. His karma is straight. Number 9, he harbors no ill will. Here again, bhikshu, someone is without a malevolent mind. His mind is without any thought of ill will, thinking, may these beings be free from hate. May they be free from suffering. May they be free from woe, from trouble. May they continue to be happy. This is metta, right? So this person does not crawl in any way. His destiny is straight. The last one, 10, he holds right views. Holds right view or right views. Here again, bhikshu, someone has right view without distorted vision, thinking there is what is given, there is what is offered, what is sacrificed. There are fruit and result of good and bad actions. There is this world, there is the next world, there is mother, there is father. There are beings that are reborn, there are recluses and Brahmins who living rightly and practicing rightly, having directly known and realized for themselves this world and the hereafter, proclaiming. Or in simple terms, goodness is possible. Being free from suffering is possible. So this person is, all his actions, does not crawl, all his actions, karma straight, his rebirth also is good. And when the Buddha closes everything, 6.10, the Buddha reminds us, we are the owners of our karma, the heirs to karma, the wombs of karma, the relatives of karma. Karma is our refuge. Whatever karma we do, good or bad, we will be its heir. This bhikshu is the Dharma exposition on the figure of crawling. So ends the sutta here. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Under the wholesome karmic cause, one, all the sections referring to body, in other words, 1 to bodily action and speech. Okay?
Yes.
The first line, you have this constant phrase, having given up.
Correct?
The question is, does that mean that if I had been given to the unwholesome acts, in other words, to put it simplistically, if I had killed or stolen, before, and then having seen the errors of my way, I give up and now I take the positive, wholesome cause. Does this mean that my past negative, unwholesome action would,
To be uprooted, is it? So that removed?
removed, and therefore I will not be karma, I will not be the negative results of my negative karmic acts. Does that mean that?
Okay. Now this is a very interesting question. Now it is wrong to say that all karma will fruit. If that is the case, it's impossible for us to get out of it. Okay? The Buddha clearly says this. Some people may tell you, well, every karma must happen. No, it's impossible. If all karma, how much karma have we done? Impossible to remember. Just imagine if you kill 1,000 cockroaches, you'll be reborn 1,000 times a cockroach, you get killed again. It's endless. You never get out of the cycle. Right? The Buddha says, I teach conditions. The key word there is conditions. When the conditions are right, the karma will right. Remember, I like to use the example of the lightning rod. You put out a lightning rod, no lightning, okay. Once there's thunderstorm, lightning will strike it. So, take the case of Angulimala, for example. Angulimala, serial killer. He's killed many people, more than 1,000. then he becomes a monk and becomes an arahat. But even as an arahat, or just before becoming arahat, he went on his arms round, and then some people saw him and remembered that he killed many of their relatives. So they were overcome by hatred, and they threw stones and earth and so on at him, and he was hurt. And he came back, then the Buddha said, oh, that's, let your karma pass, Angulimala, let your karma pass. So, in other words, Angulimala is not angry with all that, he just let it pass. He let it pass out of great compassion. In a sense, Angulimala was thinking, yes, I did all that in the past out of great foolishness. And now, in a sense, I'm thankful that that's all that happens to me. They just throw stones to me. They don't hurt me beyond that. And then he became arhat and passed away. Okay? So in other words, when the conditions are there, the past karma will come back and again, in a sense, hit us. Even in the case of the Buddha, for example, he was standing in the hot sun and he got this terrible headache. Right? So that's present condition. To me, it's just present condition, but the storyteller said that in the past he gave some wrong medicine to someone long ago. So they try to connect all these things. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, let's say we all have done bad things in the past, and then we become Buddhists, we become wiser, we are calmer, we have let go a lot of things. Then sometimes someone in the past who hate us come back, scold us negative things. We won't retaliate. We say, it's okay, this is my past karma. You notice some of our friends, right? They never accept us as we are in the present. To us, and to them, we are always like in the past with them. Right? They remember a certain thing in the past and that's all to them. So they're living in the past and they try to bring back past things. But you are in the present, you are calm, you are peaceful, so you're not troubled by it. If you truly have all this training, you learn to let go of this. So you let all this pass. That's the wonderfulness of impermanence. All these things will pass. And just look back and say, well, it's all gone. And maybe in the Dhamma talk you tell all these stories. So you don't make a big deal of these things that come back from the past. You don't remember them, recall them, and you feel hurt about them. Because every time you recall, you feel hurt about it. So that's not the way. So in other words, karma here means you no more continue to be hurt by past conditions.
That may be so, but still doesn't quite answer my question. Does that mean that, that means that you have a change in your mental attitude?
Yes, but the past karma does not change. The past karma remains there. The past karma, whenever the conditions are there, it may arise again. But because your new condition is so good, pure even, it is unlikely for them to arise. It's just like having a human body, you see. When you have a human body, you cannot say, wow, I've attained such a level that if I fall down, I'll never feel any pain. It's not possible. As a child, the moment you fall down, you cry. But now, as an adult, you fall down, you just rub, you say, okay, pain, you let it go. You don't react like a child anymore. See? So an ignorant person, a bad person, is like a little child. They're very reactive. They can be violent, excitable. They simply respond to stimuli. But once you're an adult, you say, oh yeah, it's the nature of life, we fall. So you fall, just rub yourself, sit down, rest a while. So the past karma is always there. The chances of us falling again is always there because we have a human body. Because we are human, karma is always there. Unless you're an arahat, you won't create new karma. But there are chances, rarely of course, some past karma may come back. May. See? But they don't trouble us.
So the short answer to the question as to whether all karma will come to fruition, the short answer is no.
No, not at all. So there's no such thing as purification of karma. It just doesn't. Purification of karma. Because some people will tell you, oh, you do this ritual, you can purify your karma, you get rid of your karma. Unless it's just a way of talking, to say that you can avoid fruits of karma. But even then, this is high-level religious conning. We should never talk like that. Because the Buddha spoke against it very clearly when this Brahmin came to the Buddha and said, why don't you wash yourself in this sacred river? Now the stars are in the right position, you go in the water, you come out, wow, you clean the world, that karma. The Buddha say, it doesn't work that way, I mean, wherever there is water, wherever there is well, that is the sacred water. If you keep your precepts well, every day is a holy day.
I mean, that's obvious because it's not just by physical cleansing,
Yes.
it's like the change of your the reconditioning.
Yeah, so
of
karma
your
cannot be
mind.
cleansed. In other- So meaning you remove the conditions for those karma to arise. As long as the conditions are not there, karma won't come back. Otherwise, you have this problem, Someone may say, oh, I'm awakened, so I can kill because I'm awakened, so karma won't act on me. Or I can steal, I can commit sexual misconduct. There are some teachers who talk like that, but it's wrong. So in other words, this person, if he does that, not only is he not awakened, but the karma will work on him.
But on a simple reading of these paragraphs with the preface having given up on simple reading,
Oh,
the meaning is, well, you've given up your past
I know, this one is,
wrong ways, you now
Yeah.
the right ways now,
Given up-
either in hell
you
or
given up the action, habit of doing things, not given up past karma. Not the result. I mean the karma, the reactivity of the karma can occur again if you do the same act again. That's the meaning. But this person has given it up.
I don't think one should take this too literally, right?
Yeah, you cannot take it literally. It doesn't mean the karma is not
doesn't
there.
mean
It means the habit has stopped. The habit has stopped.
yes.
That's the meaning. Yeah, that's what the passage means.
But the funny thing is, this phrase is as mental parts.
Okay, mental parts.
Being covetous.
It says not. Yeah, it says not covetous.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
phrase, the phrase is absent from these three last
Mhm.
mental states.
Yes, that's a very interesting observation. I suppose in meaning it should be quite close. In other words, we stop thinking in a covetous way. I think it should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to recondition your
Correct,
mind.
yeah. So, because the mind is the real karma is in the mind. The karma is behind our body action, our speech action.
So it's odd that the phrase is missing under the three mental
Yeah,
states.
yeah, it's not directly mentioned like the karma of body and speech.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
All
Yeah?
karma is all in the mind,
Mm,
or emanates from the mind.
correct. By way of intention. By way of intention.
So God is missing here when it's repetitive, it's repeated so many, 8 times, 7 times before, missing the last three.
Yes, only the last three.
Yeah.
Slightly differently worded. Okay, that's a very good observation. Any other question?
Can you explain the
Yes.
heirs in karma?
Okay, heir inherits something. Let's say we belong to a family, and then we are the only child, and the parents die. The child inherits the family name, the family property. So when we pass away, like no matter how rich or powerful we are, we cannot bring the power or wealth with us to the next life. We can only bring the karma along. We are our karma. And our karma, that means we inherit. We get it back. It comes back to us. It returns to us. Okay? Our karma is the only real property we have.
Then relatives,
So, relative, that means we are all connected to karma. When we have good karma, even though we are an orphan, for example, people will love us. Like, for example, there's a saying in the Dhammapada, Visasa Paramanyati. The trusted are the best relatives. Those whom we trust are our best relatives. So, in other words, people trust us, people are kind to us wherever we go. Somehow we find we're always loved. We have relatives. These are better than relatives because they take care of us, they love us, they are kind to us. So that's our karma. So the good karma makes us loved and liked by other people. They treat us like their own children, their own relative. So that's another way, one way of looking at it.
then karma is a refuge.
Karma is a refuge, right? I mean, if we have done good things and people try to discredit us, say we are bad, we say, no, I'm not afraid, I've not done any bad things or wrong things, my karma will protect me. Like the way the Buddha was protected under the Bodhi tree, remember? He was sitting down meditating, Vesak night, Mara appeared and said, what good have you done in the past? What good karma have you done in the past to sit under this tree? Karma is, Mara is very cunning because there's nobody around. So how is the Buddha going to get a witness, But what Mara doesn't know is the earth is the witness. The earth represents our karma. And of course, put in the story, you have Mother Earth coming up, and then the water wash away Mara. So our good karma will keep away evil, negative effects. We will somehow be protected by our good karma. That's the meaning. Yeah? So as long as you do good, the good karma will protect you. Have faith in that. Any other question?
It can be reversed on this thing about what earlier what we were talking about. The conditions are changed from one to the other.
Yes.
So it can be wholesome, unwholesome, or vice versa.
Yes, that is why diligence, mindfulness is needed.
So all this can be reversed.
Yes, it's possible. That is why right conditions are very important. That's why, for example, you find Mangala Sutta tell us to live in the right place, to do the right things. So to condition ourselves wisely, in other words. Womb is a place from which we are born. Okay? So you have two meanings here. One means karma all arise from inside us, from our mind. Our mind is the womb of karma. Karma arises from the way we think, the way we act, the way we speak. Womb is where things are born. And womb also means it is our karma that will make us born high or low. Right? So two meanings. One is the Dhamma meaning, the other is the worldly meaning. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so just like that, let's close here. Let's close with a reflection. As we study the suttas, we learn to straighten our views, open our minds wider so that we have clearer and better understanding of what is going on inside us. To understand the Dharma is to understand ourselves. So the more we question, the more understanding arises in us. The important thing is self-understanding. This is the meaning of self-reliance. So the suttas help us to see our own self in that way. Self-reliance also means to understand the mind. Because in Buddhism very often the word self means the mind. So to cultivate the mind means to be self-reliant. To touch our inner goodness so that we attain more peace here and now. And with peace comes wisdom. And with wisdom and peace working together, we head for liberation, freedom from suffering and awakening, like the Arahats and the Buddha. Such thoughts are very wholesome thoughts, but the power of such good karma. In this life itself, we attain peace of mind. By our meditation, we focus and liberating. Above all, by all this good karma we have done, by various other good karma, generosity, keeping the precepts, practicing our meditation and various other good deeds. May we attain spiritual liberation in this life itself, especially streamline. In this moment of peace, let us send out our loving kindness to all the beings here. May they all be well and happy. To all the people who are working hard for this place. And also to our loved ones, may they be well and happy. And to those whom the Dhamma have not touched, may they too open their hearts and minds to the Dhamma, that they may be joyful and liberated to the Dhamma too. May all beings be well and happy.